I think the thing is, when you work in a massive brand like British Gas or Net-a-Porter, the easy thing to do is remain safe. It doesn't change anything. Nothing grows if you stay safe. If we don't do something different, we're never going to see the growth that we need. We're never going to change that customer database. So I was like, fuck it. If I get fired, I get fired.
What is super interesting about everything that you've just said is your bravery.
You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I don't believe in sitting still. I'd rather you failed. I think you get to a point in your career and you're like, I can sell anything. The end product doesn't matter. As long as you believe in the customer and you understand who the customer is. Let's be honest, boilers aren't sexy, but they're essential. And we're asking a customer to part with 2, 3, 4 grand. Like, you're not buying a handbag. So we want to make that feel as good as possible. So I went and worked for Reiss, very heavy in store, very, very loyal customer, where they're treated with this like VIP experience. And again, I was like, let's just get it online. Like, there's no reason why you can't have an offline and an online customer and you can't talk to them the same way and the same messaging. And
if you don't have that whole customer journey, it's really hard to pull people into the funnel if you can't then get them over the line because your whole payment process is a faff.
There is absolutely zero point in me putting a load of money into acquisition to get to a customer to just watch them fall out.
If I have to fill in my card details, I ain't buying from you. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Marketing in the Madness. What I feel like I haven't done for ages is actually introduce myself. So I'm Katie. For those of you that haven't listened before, I run a marketing, demand and lead gen events and content agency. That's a long-winded way of explaining what I do. But I've been lucky to work in marketing my whole career. If you've listened to this before, apologies for reintroducing myself, but I just thought, haven't done it for ages. And this podcast interviews some of my favorite people from the world of marketing on the innovations, the things that you guys really need to know about, whether it's new technologies like AI, all the way through to influencer strategies and everything that kind of sits in between that. And today I have an epic guest. I'm so excited about this recording. It's going to be lively. It's going to be fun. So I have Charlotte Todd joining me. Charlotte is currently, oh my God, I'm going to get your job title wrong, Charlotte.
It's really long-winded, to be fair.
Go on, give us your job title.
It is Director of Marketing, Ecommerce and Strategy.
I love that.
It's a long one.
British Gas.
For British Gas.
But Charlotte comes from a really interesting background because British Gas, she was actually leading marketing digital e-commerce strategies for major fashion and luxury beauty brands. So let's get straight into the podcast because don't need to introduce anymore because now we have Charlotte, we're here. So Charlotte, you obviously having kind of spent your career working with some really cool brands. Not that British Gas isn't cool. And we're going to talk about that because you're going to change, or you are in the midst.
We're changing it.
Of changing the game and really pushing the boundaries of what's possible, which I love. When I initially spoke to Charlotte, she was like, I'm going into British Gas and I don't care if I get sacked because I want to change everything.
You've got it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that kind of risk-taking, fantastic attitude. But tell me about your career pre-British Gas, the kind of things that you were doing. And I guess even like go way back, like how did it end
up here? Okay, no, great question. So, oh my God, where do I start? So school, all that jazz, A-levels, actually wanted to study makeup for film, which would have been terrible because I'm really crap at art. So it would have been a complete nightmare. My parents convinced me that it wasn't the best idea, and actually I should probably go and do something else at uni. So like everyone, didn't really know what to do and went and studied business management at Leeds. I learned absolutely jack shit other than how to Harvard reference other people's great work. So left uni and actually worked during my final year at Mulberry as a sales assistant. And I've always had a passion for fashion. Bit of cliche. But there I was really incentivized on sales targets, and it was all about, it was when the Bayswater was a massive thing. So, and it was all about getting to know the customer and upselling and cross-selling, whether it was a purse or a makeup bag, et cetera, et cetera. And I just loved it. I just loved spending time with these women, and some men, and getting to know what it was that they really wanted to purchase. So finished uni. I then very briefly went into recruitment, hated it, absolutely hated every second of it. And then eventually went to work for a conversion rate optimization and email service provider agency, where I was very much kind of like cold calling, speaking to a lot of retail, I guess now me, and really understanding kind of what they were doing from a marketing perspective, what they were doing on their website, and fell in love with it, but fell in love with the understanding of like how customers were behaving and what they were doing. And email then was still so new. It was like batch and blast, et cetera, et cetera. And I did that for a while, but realized that actually sales wasn't really my forte. So I worked for an agency in Leeds who focused on social media, and I went and we were doing a lot of work with Boohoo at the time, and they had just introduced, this feels wild because it was so long ago, but geolocation targeting. So it was like you could target your customers who are in New York via Instagram, and it was just all super cool. Anyway, long story short, I went and pitched the same strategy to the head of Ecom at Missguided, and he was like, why don't you just come and work here? So I was like, do you know what? I love fashion. I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but let's just give it a go. And I just felt like I landed on my feet. I just felt like I was at home. And I was responsible for everything from a kind of a website perspective. And I was responsible for the launch of their app, which we accidentally soft launched it. Fuck, it was a nightmare. But it was a #1 global app. And it was just massive. And my career just took off. But my love for kind of understanding who a customer is, wanting to know how she was shopping, how she was behaving, what she was buying. Because actually, we thought we had this customer who was kind of like 18 to 23, was shopping a certain way ahead of the weekend, was a size 8. She wasn't that at all.
No, isn't it mad though?
Mental. Like, we used a platform called Bizarre Voice, which was a user-generated content platform.
My brother used to work there.
Really?
Yeah.
Such a small world.
I know.
Such a small world.
Such a small world.
But like, they were great. They gave us so much insight, and it really changed the way that we bought. I just fell in love with ecom, and I just fell in love with the marketing and the customer acquisition. And obviously that whole side of things on app is very different to the website. But I loved it. It was so hardcore, but I loved it.
It's so, my brother, I remember him, I think this might have actually been Missguided. Like he may have even looked after Missguided. I can't remember. He went in as some kind of enterprise sales person, account managery person. And he told me a story, and this is relating back to what you're saying about how I think it was one of his customers. It may well have been Missguided or Boohoo or someone like that, where they were selling this bikini. Right. And people kept returning it. And then they realised through the Bizarre Voice ratings and reviews
that you can wear it in the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that
us.
you guys?
Yeah, it was us.
Yeah, he told me that story. I was like, wow, like that's so clever because, and it's such a basic bit of like review technology, but they would, with Bizarre Voice, you were able to also test products before you launched them as well, right?
Yeah. So it also like really honed in on our loyal customers and exactly that, the way that we were producing product, the way that people were shopping. People were really, really keen to tell us information that we hadn't, like, I mean, it's slightly different now, but back then they were so vocal and either really passionate and loved it. And actually this comes really small and our return rates dropped hugely. But yeah, it changed the whole of Missguided. It was wild. But yeah, I loved it. From there I went to beauty. I worked for LMS at the time. I was like, Mum, I'm going to LMS. And she was really excited. And I was like, it's such a mum brand. Now I love it.
Yeah, same. We're getting old.
Can't beat a bit of Pro Marine Crew.
Yeah.
But they had no digital strategy really when I joined. They were doing a lot, and they still have a really strong presence in terms of store and House of Fraser, et cetera, et cetera. But everything was so siloed. Data was just everywhere. Just didn't understand how their customer wanted to shop. And actually there's no reason why you can't have an offline and an online customer and you can't talk to them the same way and the same messaging. And I mean, this is a problem we have at British Gas. Our information is everywhere. We just don't have a 360 picture of that customer. So I joined LMS on a contract. I did quite a lot of work with them from an online perspective, and then also some work in terms of partnerships to just try and bring it all together. but I missed fashion so much. So I went and worked for Reiss, which at the time I also loved as a brand. Again, really backward from a digital and a marketing perspective. Very heavy in store, very, very loyal customer who wants to go in black books in every company, in every store, where they're treated with this like VIP experience. And again, I was like, let's just get it online. Like, it doesn't have to be one way or the other. But Net-a-Porter was always my dream. Net-a-Porter or Burberry. So when I was at Missguided, I said to Mark Leach, who was the head of Ecommerce at Missguided when I was there, they're my dream. They just pioneer from a fashion perspective. Like Burberry were running digital catwalks on Snapchat at the time. And I was like, I just want to be a part of it. I love it. So Net-a-Porter contacted me and were like, come and work here. And I was like, I'm in.
Yes.
Also, it's 50% off. I'm in.
Yeah.
So I joined Net-a-Porter and ran all of their mobile. So everything from trading images, like understanding the customer journey, understanding how the customer wanted to shop, but also the marketing side of things, because marketing on app is obviously very different to how it is for normal digital channels. So it was, how honest are we being?
Oh, go on, Charlotte. I'm going to push you to be really honest. You know I am.
It was my dream, but my God, I was bored.
Really?
Yeah, so bored.
Because you would think
bored.
that, Yoox Net-a-Porter, like this huge,
massive brand.
Yeah, and they do. I must say, it's probably up there with one of my favorite apps to use in
100%.
terms of just because I love the videos that they do. They seem to present from a user's point of view.
It's easy, right?
Yeah, it makes it really easy.
Yeah. And
I'll even use Net-a-Porter to look at the clothes and go and buy somewhere like get it cheaper on Flannels or something. Yeah. Like I do that quite a lot. But
Flannels have always got stock.
Yeah, Flannels always seem to be the cheaper than anyone else. So just put that out there. But yeah, I'm surprised at that because I look at Net-a-Porter as such a shining light. Yeah, exactly. So go on, tell me why.
So I think a number of things. I agree. I cannot tell you, ask anyone that I work with at British Gas, I think they are sick to death of me being like, so Net-a-Porter, because they get it right. Yeah. And their app has kind of really come on over the last couple of years, and they're really good at the messaging at the right time and informing you when products are back in stock and creating that element of loyalty and retention, but also making you feel like you don't want to shop anywhere else. Actually, get cheap on Flannels.
Yeah.
But there was so much red tape. And so I'd gone from obviously businesses, excuse me, that were Missguided was so fast paced. Like I worked really early till really late at night, 6 days a week. But I didn't care because I was so passionate about it and there was so much that could be done. Net-a-Porter, there was just so much red tape, so many opinions. And just, I missed the I want to do it and I want to do it now and I want to do something different, but you're really held by brand guidelines. You're obviously, massive, massive fashion houses who you can't do this and you can't do that. And I would sit at my desk and I'd be like, is it 5:30? And that is not me.
Yeah.
I love it. I love what I do. I'm such kind of a type A personality in terms of this is my hobby as well as my career. And I'd just wait for the day to be over. So as much as it was fantastic for my wardrobe and looks great on my CV, is it a career highlight? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because we look up to these moments in our career that we're like, I want to be there and I'm so proud of my, that's where, one of the brands that I respect them. And I used to be like that. When I worked client side, brand side, I only wanted to work for really cool brands that I really loved. I wouldn't even think about accepting a job. I worked for the best champagne drinks brand because I was like that, I felt like it represented me. I couldn't work for a brand that wasn't cool because it just wasn't. I couldn't get my head around marketing or selling it because it just wouldn't work for me.
And I was exactly the same. And I'm obviously now at British Gas, which is completely random. And I've done other things in between. I've worked for other beauty brands and I've worked for an incredible fashion brand who was owned by two insane women. But I think you get to a point in your career and you're like, I can sell anything.
Yes.
The end product doesn't matter. As long as you believe in the customer and you understand who the customer is and you know what their need is, and not what, I mean, British Gas is a bit different. I can say what gets them out of bed in the morning, but they get out of bed regardless of British Gas or not. It doesn't matter.
Isn't that interesting though? Because I feel exactly the same. Like now, what's cool for me now, I'm going to call out one of my clients, like, companies like Stripe.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Technology I find really interesting
but
and cool.
They are great.
Yeah, and when I was younger, I'd be like,
no, it's boring.
That tech boring.
Yeah.
Like what I find interesting now is very different. It's not the, I wanted to work for, I don't know, I mean, they're not even exist anymore probably, but like MySpace, like the cool brands of the time. I know, because I remember like, I'm going to a MySpace party tonight. I think we like sponsored one or something like that was my, and I was going to fashion show. We were sponsoring, Lulu Guinness's fashion show. We did, I got involved with some, the Take That reunion tour, like, I was doing really cool things because I was like, that's cool.
And it's your brand, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, that for me was like the epitome of cool. The epitome of cool for me now, sadly, as a 41-year-old woman, is slightly different to what was cool for me then. So I think it's interesting, isn't it? Like how, I think, I don't know, as we grow, what we find interesting and sets us on fire at work is probably quite different.
Yeah, of course.
So what I think is really interesting about what you're doing is you're taking all that fantastic knowledge that you've learned in, really interesting retail businesses to a totally different type of retail business, which has got, a lot of heritage and, probably has a lot of older customers and is probably trying to attract lots of younger customers.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you're there shaking things up. What does your job look like now?
So my job, so I took my current role. So once I'd left my really cool fashion house job and I got offered British Gas, I said at the time, I was like, I'm just not sure. Like, am I going to be bored? Is it what I want to do? I looked at the website and was like, there's so much opportunity. Let's just go in and see. Within 4 weeks, I was like, I'm hooked. Because of the potential to do much, and that we are such a big brand, and the website itself is like, I look back at it from even 6 weeks ago, and I'm like, Jesus, we're completely different. So my role when I joined as Ecommerce Director, and my role was really just to kind of increase conversion. Being the go-getter that I am, I looked at it and was like, let's just tear it apart. Let's just try again. Because I think the thing is, when you work in a massive brand like British Gas or Net-a-Porter, the easy thing to do is remain safe. It doesn't change anything. Nothing grows if you stay safe. And actually, I was a contractor. So I was like, fuck it. If I get fired, I get fired.
Yeah, go for it.
But if we don't do something different, we're never going to see the growth that we need. We're never going to change that customer database. So let's just try. So my role then was very much about understanding who the customer was on the website and then adapting journeys to ultimately to get them to check out. Now, a lot of that came down to education. Like before I joined, home care is one of our key products, and it's basically kind of insuring your house. So we'll include an annual boiler service.
I used to have this.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah, I loved it.
Don't even need to sell it.
Great product.
But I didn't know what that was. And when I joined the business, I was like, but why do I need it? Like, what? But tell me why. Because I'm also asking you to part with like 20 quid a month.
Yeah.
But what do I get for it? We never told the customer what it was. We kind of just assumed that people would know. And we saw a halo effect of people who were coming to the website to become an energy customer, or were logging in to sort the bill out or whatever. But we were never really informing a customer as to why. We had a really clunky UX UI, so actually finding anything was really hard. And we have a suite of products that we just hadn't really gone to market with, or if we had, we'd gone in really delicately because we're quite good like playing things quite safe. And that's okay, but not when you're in a position of really growth. So we started to make change. It was really tricky. We had an in-house design team who were, had been there. A lot of people at British Gas had been there a long time. and you have someone who comes in and is like, hey, we've been in Net-a-Porter, let's just really shape things up and do things completely differently. And I think everyone's like, oh God, really? What's she doing? But we tested everything. Like, it's always been my motto. Like, let's just test it. Let's just understand how our customer's performing, or, where they're dropping out. And then if it works, we'll roll it out. If it doesn't, we'll roll it back. We'll iterate from there. So we just got to a point where we were making changes all the time on areas of the website, and they were seeing really high growth. Basic stuff, by telling a customer 4 key points about what they'll get from being a home care customer, was making like incremental growth. And then from there, we just pulled the whole website apart and just did it on all of the different portfolios and just made it feel, I was going into meetings and I was like, why does the website feel like it's 100 years old? It shouldn't. Like, yes, we provide a service from an energy perspective. And let's be honest, like, boilers aren't sexy, but they're essential. And we're asking a customer to part with 2, 3, 4 grand. Like, you're not buying a handbag. So we want to make that feel as good as possible. So that was where it kind of started. And then I started to recruit for a head of marketing, and my boss at the time had said to me, we were sitting in marketing meetings, and I was saying to everyone that we were interviewing, what would you do? How would you really elevate like British Gas Services? Like, where would you start? And everyone was going, we'd start at PPC, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but look at our creative. Like, we could do so much more with this. And I was like, would you stick Barbie on a boiler? Like, Barbie had just come out. Margot Robbie was looking super hot. I was like, would you stick on a boiler? Because we'd hit a demographic that was a lot younger. And I'm not saying this is a great idea, but you'd hit a demographic that was a lot younger. It would be relevant. We could not just put a boiler on a blue tile and, hope that at some point it would appeal to a vast number of people. And my boss was like, why don't you just do it?
Love that.
So, I have been heading up marketing, ecom and strategy for, I think I'm on month 4.
And
so making
have you made Barbie boilers?
Sadly not.
Not yet.
No.
Coming soon. I mean,
I'd love a pig boiler personally.
Yeah. I mean, I do think you've got to think. I mean, look, there's been some real major, I guess, changes in and amongst your industry for a little while, like things like Nest. Nest is, making, kind of, thermostats sexy to a certain extent. People want to, so there's definitely, there's room to grow in this space.
For it, for sure.
Yeah, really. And I think what is super interesting about everything that you've just said is your bravery. Like, the fact that you've gone in and really pushed the boundaries of what's possible. And I think people forget that. You sit in, business meetings, you watch these marketing campaigns, and the reality is people don't make change because they're scared to lose their jobs. A lot of the time, 100%. No one wants to be the person that did something new. They want to be the person that recruited the big famous agency that I'm never going to get sacked for recruiting. They don't want to be, recruiting the underdog agencies, and they don't want to be coming in and, making all these grand changes. But I think exactly like you said, in order to really drive change and to switch the dial when you're trying to attract a new audience, when you're trying to exist. And, look at all these new entrants into the market. There's a lot happening in the space. Yeah, exactly. So you guys have got to make some changes, right? To stay relevant, to stay cool, to attract new customers, to keep your existing customers.
Exactly that.
And that's hard work.
Yeah. It's exhausting. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. You just do. Otherwise, you're never going to see that great. And actually, I say to my team, and don't get me wrong, Mike, I have an incredible team who have got to a point where they're really forthcoming with ideas, and we're all on board. We're all like, this is a change. Like, this is a year we're really going to change things. And I said to them at the beginning of the year, guys, I've taken on marketing. I feel really vulnerable because this is either going to go incredibly well or it's going to fail really badly. But if we don't try, we're never going to know. And you have my full support to get it to a place where you can come to me with the most ridiculous idea. And you know what? We'll test it to a small audience of people. And it doesn't work. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't believe in sitting still. I definitely believe in the element of like, I'd rather you failed. Yeah. And opposed to just being like, yeah, but we'll just do what we've always done, because doing what you've always done just never ever changes anything. So, I'm really fortunate that I have a team who feel comfortable doing that and are in a position now where we'll start to see a lot of creative growth over the next couple of months. And I'm excited.
Yeah, super exciting. Well, you're having an impact and you're making a change. And that's the key here.
Yeah.
So obviously this podcast is all about that. It's about marketing innovation. It's about technologies. You guys have been doing some interesting things, well, with influencers and I guess also looking at newer technologies. So can you explain some of the things that whatever you're allowed to tell me, some of the things that you've been testing to make these changes?
Yeah, for sure. So we have been, on the influencer piece, we sponsored Team GB.
Yes, love that.
So it's been really great from a brand perspective and also from a trust perspective. The brand team have done a phenomenal job. And I think we've been talking about influencers quite a lot. And obviously your traditional influencer, or how you think your traditional influencer strategy doesn't probably fit with British Gas. Not how you'd normally go to Instagram and put...
wear a product, here
exactly.
it is. Yeah, you can't do that.
Get it on 5 great influencers and sell it. Doesn't quite work with boilers. My approach on this has been, or is going to be, we have some hero influencers in the sense of everyone's seen Tom Daly. He's a great influencer, obviously, in terms of like heritage. It all feeds in really well. I almost want our customer to be our influencer. So, and also our employees and our friends and family. And I shouldn't say this, but I'm slightly stealing Adidas's model. So going from the Yeezy and then flowing down into kind of influencers per se. And I'm trying to figure out how that fits in terms, because we have home care products. People are really into their homes, as they should be. We definitely play in a space of kind of home renovations. Are there influencers maybe that could fit there? Yeah, possibly. Let's try it and see. Without giving too much away.
Yes. Got some ideas, people, a few famous ones.
My brain's ticking. And then you have your influencer that I want to know about. So your influencer being my friends or my sisters or my mum or, my surrounding group who have loved British Gas forever. And actually those people deliver the message so much better than I ever will, or an influencer ever will, or a brand ever will. Like when it comes from a trusted source, it's so much more powerful. So at the moment we're figuring out how that kind of flows down into each area. And the element of using your customer as an influencer not only creates a really strong message, but also makes them feel really involved. So you have a really good balance of let them tell your story, but also make them feel loyal and valued. And, when we're competing, like you just said, we're competing in a space now where like the market is more populated than it was before. You cannot miss over. You cannot miss. I'm going to forget the name of it. Octopus. My little one calls it Baby Shark. Every time we drive past, we go into London and he's like, Mummy, it's Baby Shark.
It does kind of look like Baby Shark. I love that.
But you can't miss it.
No.
And they've done their marketing super simple.
They have.
They're in every place at the right time.
Yeah.
So it's an element of getting our customers to tell our story, because we're fully aware that we broke down that trust kind of reputation that we had throughout COVID. And there's definitely an element of rebuilding that. And we've got some really strong stories. And I think the best / the worst part of British Gas is customers are really vocal. And obviously the customers that are really vocal are the ones that are really pissed off. And a lot of people read those. So it's ensuring that the customers who are unhappy and who are happy are heard, and that they're delivering a trusted message over me sticking Barbie on a boiler.
Yeah, but I mean, that's all
Who
part
doesn't
of...
want Margot Robbie on a boiler?
Yeah, too. I mean, lots of men, I'm sure, would love Margot Robbie trapped in their cupboard at home. I mean,
oh my God, don't.
Sounds a bit wrong, doesn't it? But yeah, I think that's the thing is, the kind of influence that you can have it can't just be
us
influencers. No. It has to also be, because who would I ask? I mean, God, I was actually with British Gas for years. I don't even know why I'm not anymore, but you sort of move and then you're with someone. And I was thinking earlier, am I with E.ON or am I with EDF? Or who am I actually with? I think I'm actually with EDF now, but I was for years with British Gas. I actually, when I spoke to you for the first time, I thought I was with British Gas. I'm not, apparently I'm with EDF. And you kind of
You
forget.
need to do something about that, Katie.
Yeah, I know, I do. I need to move. And I probably actually do need to move because I bet I'm not even on a good rate. But you forget about all the other kind of
Things that come with
surrounding
it.
services. And I must say, when I was a British Gas customer, I had the home care thing and it came in really handy because it meant, I think I lived in a house that we'd had done up, and I don't know, we had a new boiler put in, but after like 5 years it had broken down, and
fine.
I did actually need that boiler support. So all those things and those stories. And I remember saying to my girlfriends, oh my God, you need to get this because they've just come in and like, I can't remember if it fixed or replaced, but it didn't in my head, it didn't cost me anything. Yes, I was paying 20 or 25 pound a month or whatever it was. But that felt really good because I was like, oh, I'm safe.
It's exactly that, right? Yeah. And also, it's who's turning up. There's an element of trust.
Yes.
You don't like go to check a trade. You don't know who's turning up. Yeah. You don't know how reliable they are. You don't know what they're going to charge you. Whereas British Gas, we've got you. Like,
stamp for approval.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And whether your boiler breaks down, and actually you don't even have to be. And I think this is some of the other work that we're doing at the moment in terms of kind of awareness, because it's more than just home care. It's your boilers, but we'll also fix it if you're not a home care customer. So actually, if your electrics go, or you've got a burst pipe, or your dishwasher goes, which also happened to me, and obey your princess, but I hate washing up. And it was a pain trying to get someone. Yeah. But we offer all these things. We just need to tell people.
Yeah. So do you do like I'm like, oh, do you do appliance cover? Because I kind of need
we
that.
Actually do.
Yeah. And I had some, I thought I had cover. I don't even know who I've got it with, but maybe I even do have cover. But then my fridge broke last year. And that was annoying.
And it's so annoying.
Oh, like the worst. Because I was like,
dishwasher and washing machine, not for me.
It started making a really funny noise. And I was like, oh my God, it's gone. And then they came and they were like, we can't replace it because of, I can't even remember what reason. And then I just had to buy a new one in the end. Yeah. And I boringly bought exactly the same one as I had before. Sorry, this is not fun, guys. I'm just talking about my homeware products. We'll get back onto the cool marketing, tech, innovation stuff quickly. So my last question.
Yes.
Any kind of cool technologies, anything you guys are exploring with AI, anything that's kind of pushing the boundaries of retail? Because a lot of our listeners are retailers or are in the kind of tech retail space. So is there anything I mean, it doesn't even have to be now. It could be way back when stuff, like something that you'd used somewhere else that just sort of changed the game.
We're not doing anything groundbreaking at the moment, because I am really focused on getting the customer journey so right.
Yeah, perfect.
Understanding who that customer is, understanding what they want to see, read, feel, what they want to tell us, what does a good experience online and offline, because we are very good at the offline piece, look like, and how does that filter through? We're very focused on that at the moment. We are very much focused on getting the basics right. And the basics feed through from acquisition through to checkout, through to post-purchase, through to all of that in terms of like, how do we then communicate with you throughout your life? So because we're in this period of getting the basics right, there's a huge amount of kind of testing and learning from our side, especially from a social perspective and other different elements of creative. So we're in a period at the moment where we are experimenting with providers. We are a huge Adobe partner. So we are experimenting with one of their creative tools, which is super exciting. But we are playing around in payment spaces, which is really big for not for energy, but like for services is massive.
And it's that connection. Like we're actually doing an event for a client, which I'm going to invite you to.
Oh, please do.
But it's about, I've already mentioned the client, hard to attract, easy to lose.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that whole customer journey that you're talking about, it's really hard to pull people into the funnel if you can't then get them over the line because your whole payment process is a faff. And we know what we're like. We're not lazy, but like we're so we're the Amazon generation or however you want to call it.
Yeah. I want it now. I just want to check out. I want to think about it.
If I have to fill in my card details, I ain't buying from you.
No, I'm exactly the same. I'm done. If I can't put my finger on a Mac and it populates, I'm out.
Apple Pay.
Yeah, 100%.
Or PayPal, and that's it, I'm done. But there's so many different providers now that make it so much easier.
Yeah, and cool, and allow you to tap into different customer bases and allow you to talk to that group of customers that you would have never spoken to before. And actually your messaging to those is completely different to the messages I'm going to send my auntie. So, that's a really cool place to be. And you're right, because there is absolutely 0 point in me putting a load of money into acquisition to get to a customer to just watch them fall out. It is the most frustrating thing.
Yeah.
So we're very much, we've got a really good balance of what do we need to do and what do we know about the website itself and how are people interacting with it? And then what can I do from a testing perspective to understand who we're targeting and what does a good message look like? And then how can I really grow and push it a little bit further? And then we'll look at AI and all the other exciting things.
And that's the thing. You have to look at them in the right order. I think that's the thing. We all get excited about these shiny new things.
Yeah.
And they are fantastic and fun and shiny, but you've got to have everything else right first. So yeah. Play with AI though, because it is fun. I love it.
And also
I'm addicted. I'm so addicted.
It's great for my team to be kept up to speed and kind of encourage that forward thinking. Like I'm massive on that. I think it's really important because you want the light bulbs to be constantly going and your team to be so excited so that when I look at like 25, 26, 27, we know we know how what that shape looks like.
Yeah.
And then you've got a team that are really dedicated and just want to come on that journey with you. And in all of my managerial experience, that has been the hardest. But if you nail that, you'll always fly.
You're sorted.
You've got a team who will just constantly excited, get out of bed in the morning for that reason.
Yeah, or they become mini Charlottes and they're brave enough
to
break the rules. Well, I think they do because what you've achieved in your career is amazing. Thank you for coming on.
No, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing. Guys, me and Charlotte are going to say goodbye for now. However, we are actually going to be staying on. So if you've enjoyed today's conversation, which I hope you have, then, well, of course, go and head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, say how brilliant you think I am. I'm always up for that. But more importantly, subscribe and come and listen to me and Charlotte next week, where we're going to be talking about, well, we're actually going to be doing it now, but you're going to listen next week. We're going to be talking about all the things that need to change to make the world fairer and give us women equal opportunities in the workplace. So super important conversation. If you've enjoyed today, gosh, I'm gonna push Charlotte even further on this next one. So you've got to come and join us next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.